Hi, my name is Megan Aaron. Today I'm going to show you how to make my favorite handmade flower. Handmade flowers are all the rage in the crafting world these days, and I love making them out of all sorts of materials, but this one is perhaps the easiest and the most versatile. You do need a needle and thread, which I know scares some people, but this really takes no special skills and only takes a few minutes. Another great thing about this flower is that it can be made out of ribbons of varying widths and types. Here's one that I made out of a 1/2 inch wide white ribbon, which, because of its small size, takes a little bit more patience, but no more skill. It's not a problem, just takes a little bit longer. Here's one made out of a sheer yellow ribbon that I doubled up to give it a little bit more substance. Here's one that I made into a headband for my daughter. I layered 2 of the same ribbon flowers on top of each other, topped with a button, and just tied it with a dot of glue to hold it on to a headband. I also used this to make a little skirt for her doll, because this is a vintage She-Ra doll and it didn't come with a skirt, and she was complaining about that. So this seems simple. I just used some magnets on the back so that she can put it on and off, and pink is her favorite color, so I'm sure she'll be thrilled. Here is a layout that I created, which I also made a tutorial for, and this one has several ribbon flowers on it. This one in the upper corner has 2 on top of each other. They're both made out of the 1/2 inch wide crinkle ribbon layered on top of each other, but I just pulled the yellow one a little bit tighter so that it was just a little bit smaller. Over here we have one made out of lace with a 2-tone stripe ribbon on top of it, secured by a brad. And here's one with the aqua ribbon, which I'll be working with in a minute, that's topped by one of the white crinkle ribbons and a little punched out piece of pattern paper. And again, secured. To make these ribbons, you're going to need some ribbon, obviously. I'm going to use this 3/4 inch teal grosgrain ribbon. And you also will need a needle and thread with the thread with a knot tied on the end. I usually use thread that coordinates with the ribbon, but in this case I'm going to use a different color thread so that you can see what I'm doing. And that's about it. Eventually you'll need some buttons or brads to put on the top and a pair of scissors. That's it. It's very simple. So all we're going to do is pick up the ribbon and, using the needle, just put the ribbon back and forth onto the end of the needle in a zigzag pattern. Now it depends on what type of ribbon you're using, how many times you can do this. You don't want to totally load up your ribbon because otherwise you won't be able to pull the needle through. But after you do that, you just pull the needle until the knot is all the way tight up against the ribbon. And then you pull it and you'll see the gathers appear. Now we're just going to repeat this process a few times, and eventually the ribbon is going to gather enough to make a full circle. Now, once you have enough gathers that it comes together in the middle, you think you're done, but you want to take another 1 or 2 stitches depending on your ribbon, just to make sure that your flower will end up nice and full. There's 1 and 2. Now, we need to cut the ribbon. I like to cut it straight rather than on an angle because it makes it easier to sew together. Then simply put the right sides of the ribbon together. On this one there are no right sides because it's not a pattern that has one side different than the other. But you put them together so that on the top of the flower you don't see any of the raw edges. Then you just take a simple whip stitch. You see my thread coming out of the end there? I'm just going to push my needle through the top side and come all the way back out this bottom so that you can see the thread, but it won't matter because it's going to be on the bottom of your flower when you're finished. And I'm going to take a few stitches here. If I were planning to put this ribbon on a headband or a shirt or any other thing that might get handled a lot, I would take more stitches. But since I plan on putting it on a layout, I just need enough to hold it together. It doesn't have to be sturdy. Then we're just going to tie it off. By passing the needle through a loop twice. Tighten it. Cut the thread. And voila! You're done. Now you can top this with a button or a brad or another ribbon flower. And like I mentioned before, you can use it in lots of different ways.